We're going to start by assembling the landing gear. You're going to take the landing gear vertical pole and insert it into the landing gear crossbar. You're going to have to first loosen a couple of the screws on the crossbar. A good idea to put a couple fingers behind where the nuts are in order to keep them in place and not falling out. Once they're loosened up a little bit, you're going to insert the vertical pole and then you're just going to tighten up those screws again. We're going to do the same thing for the other landing gear and just being careful that those nuts on the crossbar don't fall out. For the next step, we're going to go do the battery carriage, in which we're going to need the slide bars, 4 hangers, 4 gaskets. The rubber gaskets just go in the hangers, and then you're going to slide the hangers with the rubber gaskets onto the slide bars. Once you have those hangers on the slide bars, we're going to grab the pylons. There should be 2 of them. They just pop into place. Then we're going to attach the battery mounting board. That just goes onto the pylons with 4 countersunk Phillips head screws that are M 2.5 by 6 millimeter. Once you have the battery board aligned with that first screw, we can go ahead and grab some Loctite. Tip to opening a Loctite bottle is just to use a push pin or a needle and just poking a very, very small hole in the tip of it. Once you have it opened, just put a tiny little dot on the side of the screw and then screw it in. For this next step, we're going to attach the landing gear to the lower carbon fiber plate. The landing gear is going to line up with the 4 holes on the center edge of the plates. To do that, we're going to need 8 socket cap screws that are M3 by 8. we're going to attach the battery carriage to the main frame with the landing gear. The hangers are going to line up with 2 holes each on the front and back for a total of 8 screw points. We're going to be using socket cap screws that are M2.5 by 6. Next step, we're going to need the motor arms and the motors, as well as the motor plates. The motor plates are going to line up with the 4 holes that we'll attach the motors to the arms with. And they are going to be using M3 by 8 socket cap screws. For the next part, we're going to go ahead and attach the 4 arms with the motors to the lower part of the frame, and they're just going to attach to the 4 corners on the front and back of the lower carbon fiber plate. There should be 2 screws for each one. You want to make sure that the silver tip motors and the black tip motors are opposing each other in a diagonal direction, so that we can make it easier to remember the direction of spin that we need to set them up in. That way the propellers don't spin in the opposite direction and come loose and bad things happening. To keep in mind as you're mounting the arms to the lower carbon fiber plate is that you're going to want to line the wires, if you already have them soldered for the ESCs, in between the gaps in the arms. That should be centered between where the screws go. Just be careful not to pinch them while mounting and tightening down those screws. Now we're going to go ahead and do some cable management before we do anything else. Go ahead and tuck the battery cable through the little gap in the plate until it goes down below towards the battery carriage. Then we're going to go ahead and find the direction that we want the ESC cables, the black and yellow ones, to go, and we're going to feed those through towards the back. The next cables we're going to manage are the motor wires and the ESCs, and we're going to go ahead and take the motor wires and plug them in to the ESCs. Now for the silver tipped ones, you're just going to match the color, and then the black tipped ones, we're going to go ahead and swap the blue and black cable so that the blue cable is going into the black and the black is going into the middle one, which should be a black and yellow cable. Now the reason that we reverse the cables on one set of motors is in order to reverse the direction of spin. This will ensure that we have 2 opposing sets of propellers. This creates a counterforce between the 2 sets of spinning propellers and allows the quadcopter to stay stable in the air. Now we're almost done with the assembly of the S500. All we need to do is attach the carbon fiber top to the arms on the main body. The screw holes are going to line up with the 3 screw holes on the arms, and you can go ahead and leave the middle screw out, or you can attach it for extra security. Doesn't make a huge difference. You're going to be using socket cap screws of size M2.5 by 6, and you're going to need 12 of them if you choose to secure all 3 screws on each arm. Otherwise, you only need 8 of the screws. Alright, then finally we're going to go ahead and mount the flight controller to the top plate. To do this, we're going to set up the anti-vibration mount. There's going to be 4 of these silicone gummies that are going to act as dampeners. We're going to attach those to the mounting plates. The larger one's going to be on the bottom, and you're just going to insert the gummies into the little holes. They squeeze in. There should be a little slot in each gummy for each side. Once we've completely assembled the anti-vibration mount, we're going to go ahead and attach the flight controller to the anti-vibration mount using double-sided tape, and then we're going to attach that entire assembly to the top plate on the S500. We'll also be attaching the FlySky receiver to the lower plate using double-sided tape. You don't have to mount the flight controller and anti-vibration mount just yet with double-sided tape. You can go ahead and place them in position and start wiring them up in order to get your cables organized and everything else settled. Once you've decided on your orientation for your cables, go ahead and place the PixHawk on top, and we're going to start plugging the wires in. The first wire you're going to want to plug in is the power cable. I have mine coming out the front, and it's just going to plug into the front of the PixHawk and that lower one. Make sure the black ground cables are facing towards the middle of the PixHawk. The next, we're going to plug in the arming buzzer. Want to make sure the black cable is also facing the same direction. And then you're going to plug in the switch, and we'll just leave that off to the side for now. After that, we're going to go ahead and plug in the receiver. The receiver cable is just going to plug into the top servo connection. Once we've got that cable plugged into the receiver, we're going to go ahead and feed it through underneath the plate and around to keep it out of the way, and then it's going to go up to the back of the PixHawk and plug into the RC in connection on the far left side. I removed the receiver for now to provide a little bit more room to plug in the ESC cables. The ESC cables are going to plug in from the front right into 1, then the back left into 2, the front left into 3, and then the back right into 4. Once all the wires have been plugged in and the flight controller and anti-vibration plate and receiver have all been secured with double-sided tape, we'll go ahead and connect it to a PC in order to finish setup.